Alright, what is up you guys? I am here with WrestleMania 17, probably the review that everyone's been waiting for. There are two types of people in this world. Those who say WrestleMania X7 or WrestleMania 17. For me, it's 17. But, this was at the Astrodome, April 1st, 2001, in Houston, Texas. Probably, in my opinion, the greatest pay-per-view cover of all time. I mean, just look at that. And, of course, people, always say this is the greatest WWE pay-per-view of all time. I'm not going to sit here and debate that, but I don't argue that at all. I'm not going to sit here and argue that. It's just, for a lot of people, it's either 17 or 19, but, this one, it does have its many flaws, but let's get into this. We have Chris Jericho versus William Regal for the Intercontinental title. And, a lot of people, before I get into this, a lot of people say that this is the final pay-per-view of the Attitude Era, that this is it. This is the end of that era. I disagree. I think I've said it once before on this channel. For me, the end of the Attitude Era is the name change. I feel like WrestleMania 18 still had some Attitude Era left in there. So, for me, it's the name change. So this is not the end of the Attitude Era, from my point of view at least. But we had the Intercontinental Championship match. This is a good opener. It only went 7 minutes, so we had a few short matches on this pay-per-view. But, this is still an entertaining way to start off the pay-per-view. I particularly... I did like the build-up to this. I thought it was very entertaining, and, it's a great way to really continue this feud. Obviously, this shouldn't have been the end of it. So, a good kind of placeholder for the WrestleMania opener. And then we have Taz and the APA versus Right to Censor, which was Bull Buchanan, The Good Father, and Val Venus. And then they have Steven Richards. So this is a six-man tag match. It only went under 4 minutes, so not really much to go off of here. This just really was kind of a throwaway six-man tag match, which is unfortunate. It's good to see Right to Censor, finally losing here, but at the same time, it's just kind of disappointing. I was hoping it would go longer. And then we had Cain versus Raven versus Big Show, the triple threat hardcore match. I love this match. This is just so entertaining. You had Cain and Raven going at it before Big Show even came out. You had him going through the crowd, going backstage, going through doors, walls. You had the golf cart, which almost cut power to the entire stadium and the pay-per-view itself, so that would have been horrible. But, this was so cool. And then, of course, we had Cain, doing the leg drop off of the stage. Such an entertaining match. And then we had Eddie Guerrero versus Test. And then Perry Saturn was also out there with Guerrero. This was for the European Championship. And, this is Eddie Guerrero at his finest. He was saying how, he's the rightful European champion. And you just had the dirty tricks. We had the the low blow kick, behind the referee. And we actually saw the same spot the next match as well, which we'll get to that. But, classic Eddie Guerrero, and, I'm glad he went over in this match. Went 8.5 minutes, and, did what it had to do. Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit in a singles match. This went 14 minutes. This is not their Royal Rumble 2003 match. It's just not. But it's still a good match. I still give this match high praise. But we saw the same low blow, exactly the same way, back to back. I'm weird when it comes to pacing. Maybe it's because, I'm also huge, big into film as well, and pacing's important there. So pacing for a wrestling pay-per-view is very important to me. So it's kind of strange to see the same spot back to back. Could have just been a complete miscommunication from producers, but whatever. I'm not going to take anything away from this match when it comes to that stuff. This was great. I love both of these guys. Two of the all-time greats. I'm a huge Chris Benoit fan, always will be. And, this was a great showing at WrestleMania. And then we had Chyna versus Ivory for the WWF Women's Championship. Now, this was right before they were phasing Chyna out. This was kind of in the awkward period. And you could even argue that they're phasing her out here, because this only went 2.5 minutes. Yeah, she went over, she won the match, but, I feel like she deserves more time than that, and just a better matchup. And, her and Ivory could have had a really good classic match. Give them 12 minutes. They could have done something with that. And then, of course, we had, at 14 minutes and 12 seconds, the street fight between Shane McMahon versus Mr. McMahon himself. And this was actually his first WrestleMania match. So, this was not the greatest match of all time, obviously. We had special guest referee Mick Foley. Vince had Trish Stratus and his daughter Stephanie by his side. And then, of course, we had the vegetated Linda McMahon. And one of the biggest pops of the night was when Linda stood up. And it was just such a cool, just funny moment. And, this match is kind of just the fuckery match. That Attitude Era, just so much stuff going on at once, where it just really doesn't have the match quality to it. But it's still, it entertains you, and that's what this match set out to do. And then we had one of my all-time favorite WrestleMania matches, Edge and Christian versus the Dudley Boyz versus the Hardy Boys. TLC 2, I'd say this is my second favorite TLC match behind TLC 4. And this just had everything. This went 15 minutes and 47 seconds. You had Lita come out. You had Spike Dudley come out. He did the acid drop onto the table. And this was just so cool. You had the crowd that was crazy into this. And just such epic moments. You had the kind of Jeff Hardy trying to do, the little stilt spot on the, not stilt, you know what I'm talking about. He's walking on top of the ladders, trapeze spot, I guess we'll call it, which he screwed up, but, that could have been really cool. You have the 4 table spot, which is always great to see. And then, of course, one of the most replayed moments in history, the spear to Jeff Hardy when he's hanging on to the titles. That spot gives me chills. You have the flash bulbs going on in the background from the crowd, and just such an epic moment. And, I was glad to see Edge and Christian win this, my favorite tag team of all time. So, just an epic match. And then we had the Gimmick Battle Royal. And I guess I'll name the participants here. We had Luke Williams, Butch Miller, Doink the Clown. We had the Dumpster, Nikolai Volkov, Tugboat, the Goon, Earthquake, Gobbledygooker, who got his own little package beforehand, Brother Love, Michael Hayes, One Man Gang, Kamala, which was he was accompanied by Harvey Wimpleman. We had Kim Chi, Jim Cornette, Repo Man, and Sergeant Slaughter. Who doesn't want to see Jim Cornette in a Battle Royal at WrestleMania? Come on. This was just obviously for laughs, and it was kind of a meta joke on itself. It was kind of making fun of itself, which was just great. You actually had Gene Okerlund and Bobby Heenan on commentary, so this was just so entertaining, and it's a good way to settle the crowd down and just have a laugh, And then we had The Undertaker versus Triple H in a singles match. This was 18 minutes and 19 seconds. The referee went into a coma, basically. It felt like, he got knocked out. And, it spilled out into the crowd. You went into the little camera area. You had cool spots after spots. And, this isn't obviously as good as some of their later WrestleMania matches, but this was just a fun way it's a fun take on Undertaker versus Triple H. And, you know, you involve the sledgehammer at the end, and, you know, in this one, we actually had a little kind of precursor at the streak. It was mentioned once. So, nice little foreshadowing there. Obviously, you know, it didn't mean quite as much as it does 5 years later. But just your little foreshadowing. But a very good, entertaining match here. And then the main event, no disqualification match for the WWF Championship. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. For the second time at WrestleMania, this went 28 minutes. You know, that may seem like a long time, but it needed that 28 minutes. This, I would put this in the top 10 greatest WrestleMania matches for sure. And one of the best main events of any pay-per-view. This was off the wall. You had both men bleeding, you know. You had, you know, chair shot after chair shot. I think it was like 16 or some chair shots consecutively to The Rock at the end. Something like that. And, you know, this is mostly known for the heel turn. And my thoughts on that, you know, obviously you had Vince coming out and helping Stone Cold out, you know. And then we had the handshake afterwards, and the official Stone Cold heel turn. And basically, you know, Stone Cold was so desperate to regain the WWF title and to beat The Rock that he sold out to the devil himself. So, I disagree with this. I don't think it should have happened. But, at the same time, looking back, it is a kind of cool moment. Just to see kind of that moment printed in time. You know, like I said, I don't think it worked, but, you know, I guess they just wanted to add that shock value at the end of this pay-per-view. And, I don't know, it just kind of leaves a bad taste in the mouth looking back, you know, at the aftermath more. Especially the night after WrestleMania on Raw. I just did not like it. It just didn't work for me. So, yeah, you know, pretty much everyone regrets it. Stone Cold, I know, hates it. You know, he hates talking about it. So, still, this WrestleMania, overall letter grade, I'm going to give this an A. You know, you definitely have some flaws in there. But, you know, this was WWF at its peak. And this is probably one of the most important pay-per-views ever. You know, it's just, you know, because a lot of people say, you know, it's the greatest WrestleMania of all time. Looking back, it's definitely one of the best atmospheric WrestleManias. You know, just look at the roster on this card. It's just top to bottom, star after star after star, giving it their all. So an epic WrestleMania, and just one that you really can never get bored with. There's something in there for everybody. So, for now, I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.